welcome back to Truths Are Freedom. I'm Amy Jo, as you can tell by the name tag. Okay, so today we are going to look at just basically some secular public videos that I found. I believe there is very important terminology in these videos that's very revealing to hidden agendas. So I'm going to play them, and then I'm going to have I'm going to make some comments afterwards about why I think these things. Okay, so I am just going to play it.
Welcome to this video where we explore two incredibly exciting worlds: virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR. Virtual reality immerses you completely in a virtual world using VR headsets. You can explore breathtaking landscapes, interact with virtual characters, and experience educational simulations in ways never before possible. Augmented reality, AR. Augmented reality, on the other hand, integrates digital elements into your real-world environment. Using smartphones or specialized devices, we can see instructions overlaid on real screens for assembling furniture or play games that interact with our surroundings. Uses and applications. Both VR and AR are used across a wide range of applications, including education, training, medicine, gaming, and entertainment. VR can simulate hazardous conditions for training, while AR enhances shopping experiences or even cooking tutorials. In conclusion, VR and AR represent a significant shift in how we interact with technology, achieving extraordinary feats and enhancing everyday experiences. They are indispensable in our modern era. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed your journey through the fascinating realms of virtual reality and augmented reality. Stay tuned for more exciting content in the future.
Okay, did you catch that at the end? Fascinating realms. Fascinating realms. I think the terminology in these videos is very important. I do believe that's an AI guy right there. Man, AI is getting realistic. I do believe that they are subtly telling us that engaging in virtual reality is a form of engaging in alternate realms. And when we fully immerse ourselves into these virtual realities with our minds and our emotions and our spirits, that is a form of entering a different realm. I believe that to be true, and I believe that entering into these realms is very, very dangerous, and that we are being ushered into these realms without really understanding what is going on, without any understanding of these realms, what these realms are, what they mean, what else is in these realms, what dangers are in these realms. We don't know anything, and we're just being, by simply putting on some goggles, ushered into these alter realms. They're literally using this terminology. Get completely immersed in these realms. And I do believe that it is very serious. I do believe that it is very dangerous. I don't believe that we are being given the information about going into these realms that we need at all. I think there is a lot of deception that is attached to entering us into these alter realms, and I think we really need to be careful, or just not engage in it at all. Just to not even have anything to do with virtual reality in any way, shape, or form, because I mean, the realization is that we are entering alternate realms that we don't know anything about, which is very spiritually dangerous. What permissions are we given that we are not aware of? At this point in time, we know that the world around us is full of opportunities for us to give permissions to evil that many are not aware of. Like if you go to a concert and that said individual, that's the main, attraction for the concert, is into satanic stuff, and they do a ritual right on stage, which we've seen a lot more of lately, right? Because you bought the ticket, because you paid, and because you attended by your choice, you have just given permission spiritually to be a part of that ritual. And whatever is going on in that ritual, whatever they decide to include you in or accost you with, you've already given permission. So you are free game. So what is this? If we are putting on these goggles and going into this virtual reality realm, what permissions are we giving? I think these are all things that we need to really consider. And they said it. Realm. So I wanted to kind of go through this video with you guys. It goes really fast. Like it goes through, it's a music video, and then it has some text that pops up, an explanation and information, and the text comes and goes really quickly. So I'm going to be pausing it, and then we're going to look at some of the terminology that's used. Like we're going to look at the definition, because if you've been looking at things for a while now, you'll understand that terminology is really, really important to understand what the meaning is, kind of like behind the information that's being given to you. Like if you look at the terminology, you look at the definitions, you look at the adjectives, and you study that a little bit, you will more understand what the objective is that they are going to be heading towards. So, okay, let's do this.
Close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust.
Okay, virtual reality, or VR, is a computer-generated simulation that immerses users in a virtual environment, replicating sensory experiences like sight, sound, and touch. So take note that VR can replicate in your mind the sense of touch, not just sight, not just sound, but they are at a place now where the sense of touch can be manipulated in your mind so that you feel like you're actually touching something too, something that isn't really there. Okay, keep that. That's advanced. That's how advanced this is. Like, and that's why I'm kind of touching on this the way that I am, because of the nature of this. I don't, people look at technology and talk about technology like it's still just this chip that's kept in this box of technology that cannot affect them at all. They get to choose when they sit down with it and when they leave it, and that they are in control. There's an illusion involved that we are in full control of the technology, that we choose and we decide. And what I'm trying to show you is that that's an illusion, and that as technology increases in levels, and as we're going into this virtual reality and alternate reality stuff, that no, you're not in control. You're not in control. If you are traveling into realms that you are unaware of, because nobody's going to tell you, look, you do virtual reality and you are going to be going into other realms, unless that's something that you're already like pursuing anyway, with certain things. they're not going to tell parents, hey, you know, your kids are going to come to school and we're going to have them put these goggles on and we're going to take them into alternate realms, not just realms of reality in your mind, but if you understand how the spiritual works and how, you know, you can traverse the spiritual realms just in your mind with your spirit, if you know how, that's what we're going to be doing with your kids. And we're going to teach them how. Nobody's going to tell you that. You have to read between the lines to what this is, to what this advanced technology is. You have to understand the warning signs, because if you don't have the knowledge and you don't understand the warning signs, you're going to be traversing into some spiritual stuff that you are completely unaware of until you start paying for it, and still there are prices to be paid that you will expect to be paid, and things that you don't want to be a part of your life will be involved in your life. Okay, anyway, we're going to move on. So not just sight, not just sound, but notice touch as well. Wow. Okay, let's continue.
Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Okay, so this says gaming. Gaming is perhaps the most well-known application of VR. With virtual reality, gamers can step inside their favorite games, fully immersing themselves in the action. It takes gaming to a whole new level, bringing unprecedented levels of immersion and interaction. Immersion and interaction. So interacting with this, let's look at immersion. Let's look at the definition of immersion for a minute. Immersion is the act of dipping something in a substance, completely covering it. It might be something physical, such as plunging your body into water, or metaphorical, such as becoming totally immersed in a project. The Latin background of immersion includes the root mergere, to plunge. The idea of immersion as a physical submergence came first, and the idea of something being absorbed in a situation came about later. So if you're talking about sight, hearing, and touch, then I would definitely go with the definition of completely covering it. It might be something physical, because those are physical senses. Oh, my hair is driving me nuts. Physical senses that we're talking about. So if we're going to go there, such as plunging your body into water. Okay, hold on. Immersion is the act of dipping something in a substance, completely covering it. It might be something physical, such as plunging your body into water, immersing yourself into a different realm. That's, I mean, if you pay attention to what they're telling you, to what is being told to you, to how this is being described, and you allow yourself to be open to this reality, that this is going on and that this is the objective. If you have gained the knowledge of what is really going on around you, and you understand what is really going on around you, not what you're being told in your head, but the truth of your surroundings, and you look at what this is saying, it's something to really consider. It's something to really weigh if this is something that you want to be a part of, if this is something that you want to step into, if this is something that you want to allow your children to be a part of. And like many, many things, I think it would be wise of us to really take a look at entertainment. In fact, maybe look at the definition, the root definition of entertainment, which I haven't, but that's an interesting thought. Because if we look at a lot of the things that are coming out, it is an entertainment thing, and things that engage the public, that cause the public to engage with things that are spiritually unhealthy. Like how many concerts have we seen now where there are blatant, indisputable satanic rituals and Luciferian activities happening on stage? And when people buy a ticket and go and watch, they are literally taking part. The people that are doing these things understand that. They know that they are taking part. They know that you buying a ticket and going to these shows, are you permitting certain things and you taking part in entertainment? Think about entertainment. You have TV, you have movies, you have concerts, you have games. Entertainment is a gateway for the enemy to be able to get into your life, grab hold, and distract you with fun. You're distracted with fun and entertainment. If we can just step back and not just run into all the fun and the entertainment and the distractions of these things, and understand that the enemy is using all of this to have entrance into our lives and to have entrance into trying to destroy us. It would, if we could just settle with that reality, it would put us in a really good place of discernment and warning. It would help us understand that entertainment, is the fun worth it? Is the fun worth it? Is the fun worth the danger? Because the dangers are very real. So you have to ask yourself, is the fun worth it? Is this temporary joyride worth the true spiritual implications that you are permitting and allowing? That is something that you really have to ask yourself, because if you don't ask yourself, then you just take part. You're not asking, you're not stopping, you're not asking, you're not considering. You're literally just taking part in it without even considering the implications and the consequences. So it would be really, really good for everyone to stop and ask themselves, is the entertainment and the fun worth the consequence? Is it worth it? And this VR is very, very, very advanced fun and entertainment. So they say. So just really let your mind wrap around the big picture. The big picture of what's going on here. Okay, let's continue. Okay, this says students exploring historical sites, dissecting virtual organisms, or practicing surgical procedures in a risk-free. It's interesting that they have to put that in there, risk-free. And usually what they put in there is really indicative of what the opposite. The opposite is usually what's going on. So if they're telling you this is risk-free, I mean, the first thing that I would do is go, okay, if they're telling me it's risk-free, I would not have even considered a risk being present. So what risks exactly are they saying this is free from? You gotta like stop and ask yourself these questions. Risk-free environment, VR opens up endless possibilities for experiential learning. What's experiential learning? What is that? Let's look at the definition of experiential learning. Experiential learning, and as we're looking at all of this, keep in mind the blog from Veronica Swift of how the system utilizes VR. The system is the most proficient and experienced in using these tools, VR, VA. They have been utilizing them for decades. They're very proficient. They're very experienced. They know what they're doing. So, and if you think that the system is just harnessing it for their, you know, trauma, their trauma and programming and MK Ultra, you know, programs, and they're not gonna try to use it on anybody else, any of the public, then you aren't quite aware of anything else that's going on around us right now. You haven't quite reached that level, okay? Because they are constantly in the process of manipulating the entire public. So there's no way that they are not going to utilize or have not been already utilizing this against us. They do it subtlety to the public in mass, so there is plausible deniability available, so that there are people who will always fight it, so that there are people who always go, you're crazy, this is not happening, take your tinfoil hat off, don't be a conspiracy, you know, people that don't want the truth to be the truth with everything in them, have plenty of terminology and a lot of things that they're given to go, it's this, you're crazy. You know what I mean? So to the public, it's much more subtle. You have to look for it, which is what we're doing here. This is where it is utilized against the public. It's subtle. So because they utilize it against the public so subtly, you have to put your brain on. You have to look at the terminology. You have to read between the lines, because that's how they communicate. They tell you without telling you, because they think that you are so stupid that they can literally tell you to your face and you will never catch on. Why? Because a lot of people refute it, and a lot of people deny it, and a lot of people will attack you for looking and even considering that these things are going on. They know that, and they use it against you, and they throw it in your face. Let's look at experiential learning. Is the process of learning through experience, and is more narrowly defined as learning through reflection on doing, hands-on learning. So this is virtual reality, except it's hands-on, which is physical. So you're in a realm where you can physically hands-on learn. You're in a place, not just where your mind is manipulated so your nerves, you know, generate feelings into your hands, but you are in a place where you are physically conducting life and experiencing it. Can be a form of experiential learning, but does not necessarily involve students reflecting on their product. Experiential learning is distinct from rote or didactic learning, in which the learners play a comparatively passive role. It is related to, but not synonymous with, other forms of active learning, such as action learning, adventure learning, free choice learning, cooperative learning, service learning, and situated learning. Situated learning is a theory that explains an individual's acquisition of professional skills and includes research on apprenticeship into how legitimate peripheral participation leads to membership in a community of practice. Situated learning takes as its focus the relationship between learning. Okay. Anyway, experiential learning is often used synonymously with the term experiential education. While experiential education is a broader philosophy of education, experiential learning considers the individual learning process. As such, compared to experiential education, experiential learning is concerned with more concrete issues related to the learner and the learning context. Experiences stick out in the mind and assist with information retention. Now take this and experiential learning concept and put it into virtual reality, where it is something that your child is immersed into. They can see, hear, and their physical sense is also active, so they can feel. And you look at the school systems and you look at what's going on in the school systems, do you trust the school systems to utilize this with your children, where they can enter them into this realm? There are no witnesses to what is being done to them, what information is being fed to them, what kind of physical activity that they are being involved in. And if you look at the headlines of schools, if you look at the agenda of schools and what is going on and the destruction of our youth and the already mind-altering garbage, and then you send your kids to school and they put your kids in this alternate reality where there are no witnesses, there is no physical evidence, there is no paper trail, if your child is harmed, there is no proof, because they just shut off the virtual reality and you can't prove anything. Your child would know that if something was being done to them, they cannot prove it. They have no evidence to bring to you. If they are worried about bringing evidence to something that's been done to them because they're concerned that they're not going to be believed, which is very common, this is going to shut them up. They have nothing to show besides, physical accosting. Maybe their bodies bear the brunt of of abuse. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't for the abuse that they are going through. But do you trust this experiential learning in a realm that you can prove nothing when your child is taken back out of that realm? I wouldn't. Okay, let's continue. Healthcare and therapy. I mean, I think a lot of people have realized that the healthcare system is so absolutely corrupt on some level already. I know a lot of people are having a really hard time letting go of the trust that we have been programmed for generations should be there to professionals that are supposed to know our bodies more intricately than we do, and that we're supposed to trust them to fix them. Some people are having a hard time letting go of that falsity. But many are coming to the realization that the healthcare system is a complete farce, that it couples with the pharmaceutical companies, which are the biggest drug dealers on the face of the earth, that they are medicine happy, where they're prescribed medicine. That's their answer for almost everything. And then when that medicine starts giving you other symptoms and other diseases, they prescribe more medicine for you, and they make a ton of money off prescribing you medicine. And then as the medicine sickens you more and more, they make as much money off of your death and suffering as they can before they just let you die. That's the medical system. Cures are hidden. Healthy alternatives are hidden, not just hidden, but people have gone to jail. People have been killed for cures and healthy alternatives and actual things and methods and medicines and natural alternatives that will actually help people's health has been squashed, illegalized. People that have pushed bringing it out have gotten in legal trouble. People have died for it. That's our medical system. Our medical system is here to make as much money off your body as they can, and then make as much money off your body as it's dying. And we want to trust it with virtual reality. In healthcare, virtual reality is making a big impact. It's used for pain management, phobia treatment. So in my opinion, virtual reality is a whole different realm. And if that's a whole other subject, but traveling realms is not as in your mind. It's okay. It's a different mental and spiritual realm. Okay. And virtual reality is easy access to that place. That's my belief, to a different realm in your mind and in your spirit in a certain way. Okay. That's my belief. And you're going to allow technology to assist you into this different state, in this different place, for phobia treatment, surgical training, medical procedures, pain management. What is phobia treatment? Let's look at phobia treatment. Oops. And keep in mind, just do your best to keep in mind how this is utilized by those who are serving darkness and traumatizing and tormenting people behind closed doors. This is one of their major tools. And if you think these people aren't in positions of doctors and teachers and lawyers and powers of position, then you haven't quite stepped into the education and the research yet, because these people are in all kinds of powerful positions all around us that we are trained to trust the most. Just a moment. Okay. Therapists, counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, they have been positioned everywhere to be in a place where they can still try to control the masses and harm the masses, and they gain a lot from it. And they gain and they keep their positions in power. Look around and tell me that those in power aren't immersed in horrible, awful, evil agendas that are causing suffering for everybody. I mean, it's proof. Okay. Treating phobias depends on the situation and the severity of the condition. Psychotherapy is the most common treatment method. Psychotherapy. It includes exposure therapy. Now, if you keep in mind from the blog that you could classify, you could term some of the ways that they torment, abuse, and traumatize people with these very words. You could apply this terminology to the same thing. And if you think they are not going to do this to just anybody that walks in and seeks this therapy in virtual, what are you going to do? How are you going to prove it? How are you going to prove anything's been done to you? How are you going to prove it? You can't. It's digital. There's nothing solid to prove. Psychotherapy, exposure therapy, which entails a gradual process of exposure to the feared object or situation with the goal of changing the response to the fear and teaching you how to manage your anxiety. That's terror trauma. They're telling you that they're going to utilize it to help you overcome your anxiety. This literally defines terror trauma. We find you come in and you tell us what you are terrified of. And then we're going to stick this VR headset on you and we're going to take you into this other realm. And then we're just going to cause you to face your terror. And this is something that they actually use in traumatizing and programming. Terror is used in Luciferian programming and trauma all the time. If you've heard testimonies of survivors that are coming out and talking about some of the things that were done to them in their abuse and their trauma, this is common. They do this all the time. Literally, it's describing this to you. Okay. Sometimes it just blows my mind how everything is right out in front of the open, and it's still so hard for people. Like, it just goes right by people. And because of what I have learned in the last few years, I'm like, it's right there. It's right. They're telling you what they're going to do to you. And you have no evidence. It's digital. What are you going to prove? What document trail are you going to go down? What receipt? You got no proof.
Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song.
Okay, that's it for that video. And I know that this is all my opinion. This is what I have gleaned from this, okay? And I do believe that this is the truth. I do believe that this is a whole new plateau of dangers, of giving permissions and being accosted of the spiritual realm that serves the enemy, the darkness, the spiritual realm of darkness that looks like fun, that looks like light, and they're utilizing it in vulnerable situations, in healthcare, children in schools. If you pay attention, it's the most vulnerable places in our lives that are the focus in games. Kids play games, so it's children, those who are young, and those who are weak and ill and in need of health care of some kind. Vulnerable. So it's introduced to you as fun or brought to you in your most vulnerable moments of your life. And it's just so absolutely terrifying and alarming that this is where we are. And I think everybody needs to be completely honest and realistic with themselves about what we are looking at here. Because what we are looking at here is so absolutely terrifyingly dangerous. And I think we're going to start to come to places where either you take part and you give permission and you stay up with the Joneses, or you step back and you're like, this is too far. I can't take part in this. And societally, you're going to be laughed at, scoffed, and left behind. Everything that society deems as important to your existence is going to be taken from you because you cannot keep up, because you will not take part. And I think we're heading here. Okay. 33 minutes on this video. How long is this video? 2 minutes, and I just made it into 33. Okay, moving on. I found this video. And let me see. This video, it's 8 years old, and it's very, very revealing on what virtual reality consists of. I want you to really pay attention to the terminologies used, to the spiritual implications that this reveals. This is actually pretty surprising, pretty shocking. If you think that virtual reality is just like a digital, like Atari, this video will clarify how far from the truth that is. It's very okay, let me put it this way. The clarity and the admittance in this video of what virtual reality really actually is was surprising. I'm surprised that this was put forth for the public to see because of what they tell you this is. So I'm just going to stop talking about it and play it for you. But please pay attention to the terminology and let it sink in, the seriousness and the terminology that is used for this.
22 years ago, when I was teaching at the University of London in the semester abroad program, my sister Kim and I got a chance to try out a virtual reality headset. We were in Leicester Square at a futuristic arcade and hoping to be mesmerized by promises of a newfangled technology. But alas, to no avail. We thought VR sucked, as it was so rudimentary as to be almost laughably bad. For the next 2 decades, I gave scant attention to the evolution of virtual reality hardware. However, when I was teaching at Cal State Long Beach, I heard rumors about a student named Palmer Luckey who had somehow figured out the trick to developing a VR headset that, even in its beta testing stages, was mind-blowing. But though I knew theoretically that such technology would be transformative, I hadn't experienced it directly, and thus was not yet a convert. All that changed, though, the day I tried Google Cardboard, a surprisingly simple, hard paper construction that looks at first glance as if it was made on the fly. As I put on the relatively cheap contraption, I was ready to be disappointed, but instead I felt like St. Paul on the way to Damascus. I was shocked as I was teleported to another realm. Even though I knew Google Cardboard, which uses your smartphone as its fundamental hardware, was still a very primitive device, I immediately realized that the future I dreamt about decades ago had arrived, and that it was only going to get better, much better. The implications of VR are more profound than we might at first suspect. Ironically, Ken Wilber, the controversial New Age philosopher, may be one of our best future theorists when it comes to all things virtual, even if we must ground his spiritually saturated cosmology down to terra firma. In Wilber's schema, the next level beyond psychic is what he refers to as the subtle realm. As he explains in his early books, this is a state of consciousness where all sorts of fantastic visions of light and sound occur, and where the mind can be enveloped into astral realms. While I don't think Wilbur had VR headsets in mind when he postulated his subtle realm theory of consciousness, where dreams become conscious to an awakened psyche, the parallels between the two are unmistakable. In the mystical literature on the subject, accessing the subtle realms usually entails deep meditation, which primarily includes sitting very still for long stretches of time and concentrating on inner lights and sound until one consciously enters in the awakened state. In contrast, in virtual reality, the neophyte simply dons a headset and turns on the preset program, and then in a second or two finds himself or herself completely encased in a 3D wonderland. The former is achieved by dint of one's concentration, whereas the latter is accomplished by some remarkable feats of hardware and software engineering. Yet both resemble each other in truly remarkable ways, from the feeling of being out of the body, to incredible light shows, to adventures across spatial landscapes. Although I'm the first to admit that a meditative experience is different than a VR one, there is no question that they mirror each other in a number of ways, and that in the near future, it seems exceedingly obvious that anyone will be able to enjoy a simulated astral trip without resorting either to prolonged meditation or ingesting psychedelic drugs. And because VR is so easy and mindless, the pun is intended, it will go viral throughout the human population, just as radio and television and the internet have done before. In a very real sense, we are downloading the astral plane, or more precisely, our idealized versions of it. VR is astral travel for nerds. Imagine what this technology is going to look and feel like in a decade. We will live so deeply inside these VR realms that telling the difference between what is real and simulated will increasingly blur to the point of meaninglessness. This is not hype, since what I glimpsed was quite literally a cardboard rendition of future VR, which will be exponentially far beyond anything we can presently imagine. And it is not a distant future, since in 2016, the market will be flooded with a whole series of VR products, ranging from Oculus Rift, to Sony's Morpheus VR, to HTC Vive, to Samsung's Gear VR, to Microsoft's HoloLens. Ken Wilber's subtle realm, even if merely a replica of what he envisioned, is coming to a store near you. I have no doubt that with VR we will soon be witnessing an informational tsunami, the likes of which will swamp everything, from how we educate, to how we doctor, to how we entertain. If consciousness evolved as a virtual simulator to help us better in-source varying survival strategies before outsourcing them, we can readily see that humans have now progressed to the point where we can actualize our imaginings in a real world. Simply put, our technology has finally caught up with our dreams so that we can consciously inhabit what we could only before imagine. We are on the threshold of replacing our spiritual Atman project with an electromagnetically gifted avatar project, where arduous meditational practices are replaced with supremely easy VR headsets, so that we can transcend the limits of our physical body and fly unencumbered in mental wonderlands. Aldous Huxley was correct when he predicted that we would enter a brave new world, but it is a different kind of soma we will daily ingest than the one he anticipated. The drug of the future is virtual, and it's information without boundaries.
Okay, that's enough of that visual. Did you hear that? Astral travel, different realms. No need to meditate. No need to do hallucinogenic drugs. Just put on a pair of goggles and travel to a subtle realm, a different realm. Realms we really have no business being in or going into. And this is so absolutely dangerous. I mean, and this was like I said, 8 years ago. Um, I don't really like, I'm not really in the gaming world. I'm not really into entertainment of any kind. I don't know how advanced VR has gotten to the public. I know that it's readily available. I know that some phones actually started coming with like virtual reality capabilities and equipment when you bought the phone. Um, I haven't seen it become like a common norm, like everybody's got a cell phone, you know. um I haven't seen it become that common to norm, but I could be wrong because I'm not immersed in like societal technology and electronics. So I really don't know if it's gotten to where this neural surfer individual predicted it to be. um The color schemes and kaleidoscope type of graphics was interesting. There are probably those of us that know that this could be an implication of like mind control, because those things are used. Lights and colors and kaleidoscope type visual manipulations are used in programming. I found that interesting. Um, this video is terrifying. If you understand what this individual just said, this is terrifying. This is literally allowing the public easy access and ignorant permissions to be given and different realms to step into in one act of putting something on your head and probably a couple presses of a couple buttons, and there you are. You've given all kinds of permissions, and you are stepping into what this individual said, subtle realms. And that's quite literal. So I wanted to share this with you. This video is quite exposing to the reality of what virtual reality is. No pun intended. Okay, so next I have a few articles that I want to read through that kind of just backs the seriousness of this up. And as we kind of consider the addiction capabilities of this too, especially when we talk about drugs or when we talk about meditation. People meditate, they connect with they manifest, right? Oftentimes yoga involves manifesting spiritually entities, whether they know it or not. That's what they're doing. The spirits don't always let them know because they don't want to scare them or make them uncomfortable, and they're very subtle because they want them to keep doing it. But all of these things, and drugs also, a lot of us at this time know that when you do hallucinogenic drugs, you are literally entering into different subtle realms. It's really hard because we have not been well educated on this topic of traversing subtle realms. It's really hard for people to imagine that without physically getting up and going into a different place or doing something drastic, that they, you can't enter other realms. But when you start to gain knowledge of how easily that is done, that it's spiritual and that it's mental, and that you don't really have to do as much as a lot of people would think. And the enemy doesn't want you to know that, because he wants you to trip up and go into these subtle realms, because then you are vulnerable, and you're giving permission to spirits that are not neutral nor friendly. They can deceive. They're very great at deceiving people that they are helpful and caring and everything. that they do, but they're not. They serve the enemy's dark kingdom. That's what they are in nature. And if you want to look at testimony into that, go into YouTube and type in New Age. And I'm not picking on anything. Please, I know this is like an offensive society. Please don't be offended. I'm picking on no one. But look up New Age to Jesus, and you will see testimonies of people who decided to walk away from New Age and give their lives to Jesus, and the spirits that they thought that they were having friendly interactions with turn on them and become very volatile and dangerous. Very dangerous in some instances. They show their true colors. So this is extremely dangerous in a spiritually starved society, unless, I mean, a lot of people are getting into dark arts or what they think are white arts, but are still drawing off the same power of the dark arts. They don't know that. That's a lot of the spirituality that's going on. And so there's a lot of ignorance in the reality of this and the danger of this. And everybody needs to start looking at this and understanding that this is where society is being moved to, whether they know it or not, and whether they like it or not. This is where it's going. So you need to be aware of what's around you. Ignoring the truth is going to be very dangerous for people moving forward. It's going to be very dangerous. People need to know, they need to be wise, and they need to educate themselves on where everything is going. And that technology is not just this physical computer thing, but that technology is turning into, moving towards quantum, and it's very spiritually coupled. It's not just physical, digital, like keyboard, laptop. Very spiritually coupled. It's really getting to the point where they're one and the same, like virtual reality. It's spiritual. Okay, so let's look at 3 or 4 articles, and I probably won't read the whole things because they're lengthy, but we're going to read some to back up what this gentleman just said. And I mean, is there going to be an addictive value? Probably. We look at game addictions already. And if something like this is replacing drugs, of course there's going to be an addictive element. So we have to look at that too. This could be something that could be even far more addicting than drugs and games, but multiplied because it's kind of together. It's like both in one hit. So, okay, let's look at that.